Welcome back. Ahoy, sailors. Nope, that's not us. That's somebody else. Sorry. It's myself, Gavin, Chad, and then we have a fun guest today, Joe from Jace Trident. Joe, how are we doing today, my friend?
We're doing great. I'm going through some Mariner withdrawals though, man. I'm ready for Saturday and ready to start our playoff journey.
Yes, absolutely. And before we kind of get going with the introduction of Jace Trident, make sure you are over there checking it out. More than likely, you probably came here from him. This guy has been doing this thing for a while. He's done a phenomenal job of doing the post game recaps and just talking Mariners baseball for much longer than myself, and has honestly taught me a lot in this game. So we're very excited to have Jace Trident on and just kind of giving a preview of what's to come in this postseason, what to expect. Obviously, there's just electric in the air all around Seattle, and we are fired up as a fan base. I know the boys on the field are fired up. So yeah, kind of, with that being said, we should probably just kind of get into some of the questions here and just kind of start firing them away and just kind of
yeah. Can we at
hey.
least just let's hit the pause button though? Let's just all Mariners fans just take this in and just let me know your thoughts on this too. It's like going into the playoffs, generally year over year, just fans historically, we haven't felt this way. It just feels like you got a little bit more juice when you got your team in it. So I just throw me the gas symbol. Somebody give me the thumbs up, give me some life. But I'm feeling good about this, boys. It's a magical October. It's not just Halloween for us.
Get the gas. Yeah, the foot is on the gas pedal. It's been on the gas pedal for the past month. We have all the charge up that we need. It really kind of reminds me of that 2012, 2014, 2016 San Francisco Giants era where they, either won the wild card or just had all that steam kind of coming in from September going into the postseason and just took it by storm. You'll move Tim Lincecum to the bullpen and just found weird ways to win ball games. Kind of reminds me of that. You're seeing a lot of it with the team chemistry, just within the team and everything. This team might be the most gelled team I've seen, and we just witnessed the 2022 team, which had nothing but good vibes. So there's just a lot of cool stuff that we get to see and just be excited for, coming through and everything. And right now, oh, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the complete lineup too. It's like you're talking about having to be creative with things. It's like we can execute the same game plan we've been doing. We can do it, and a guy goes down, I still feel really comfortable. It's like Wu has question marks, but I'm still fine with our rotation. It doesn't bother me. So it's nice having that feeling too. And you look across other teams, they don't have that.
Yeah. Well, and also, kind of like I mentioned with Tim Lincecum moving to the pen with this, and we will get a little bit deeper in that later on. You could see a potential starter move to the pen, and I'm fired up to see kind of what that looks like. I'm fired up to see if it's a Bryce Miller out of the pen, what he looks like if he's sitting 98, maybe even touching 100, because you give that guy one inning, and I'm pretty sure he's electric. So I'm excited.
If Hancock can do it, so can Bryce Miller.
Well, I guess, before we get into the first question, Joe, tell me, what was your thoughts on this season going into the postseason? Where are you at just in your fandom right now?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate the kind intro. Do we need to shout out Wicked Rain? Because we'll do a live stream from there eventually,
Yes.
right?
Eventually, we will do a live stream from Wicked Rain. I know for a fact we were going to have that happen.
Love it. It's just been, I'm trying to kind of like how Chad said in the beginning, just trying to soak it in, really. I'm so excited for Saturday, but I'm also just enjoying watching these playoff games right now, knowing that we're in the next round. And it's just been incredible from opening day, spring training. It's going to sound cliche, but the ups and the downs of the season, the trade deadline was amazing to see them really go all in and get Gino and Josh Naylor. Just so many, it's no matter what happens, it's going to be a great memory season. Just that seeing them clinch the AL West, which, was, you kind of felt the ceremony of it in Colorado, but that series sweep in Houston was just incredible. Really felt like a changing of the guard there. It's hard to sum it up, but it's gone by too fast, obviously, this season, but it's just been absolutely incredible. I wish I could say enjoyed every moment. There's been some frustrating moments, as every season has in baseball. But it's just been absolutely amazing to watch this team, to have the good offense, the pitching depth, and then the camaraderie, like you talked about in the beginning. It just seems like this team is really bought in for each other, and which makes it so much more fun as well to watch.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there with just talking about the ups and downs. Going into the season, we had Donovan Solano and at the very last minute, Rowdy Tellez. And that was pretty much the roster moves that we saw that we kind of, we needed some offensive help. We knew we knew we weren't set as a pitching staff, but we knew, we can kind of manage that throughout the season. Maybe we can, add a piece here or there and kind of make things happen. But offensively, we were like, what's going on here? What is happening? And we got Donovan Solano, who's on escalators, and we don't know what that's going to look like, if he's even going to hit 350 at bats or plate appearances or whatever it ended up being. But yeah, the ups and downs and just the absolute just awesomeness that we've seen, and just the upward trajectory from middle of summer on. Really kind of spark. It was a year unlike any other, right? Because we are so used to having the lead and losing it, or just being 5 games back and never getting in. And it was a year unlike any other. And it was, in 2022, we had that 14-game winning streak in the middle of the year, and we were all fired up right before the All-Star game. And that's what really kind of what vaulted the sea. And we kind of went like that. But
We
hey,
went down a little bit and we went back up.
We made it. We pushed through the finish line, got into the postseason. This year, we had just an absolutely fantastic September, and it was, I guess shout out Etsy Witch if that thing is alive and kicking. Thank you, and hopefully we can use some of that juju for the postseason. And kind of, as you mentioned, just watching other teams play right now, right now, does it not feel a little bit like March Madness, where you're just getting back-to-back games all, throughout the morning, mid-afternoon, day, and you even got a night game going on right now? I love this. Whoever thought of this, whoever kind of put this together, yes, kudos, thank you, and please do this all the time. This is baseball, and man, I love it. And yeah, we're staring down the barrel of 4 more games tomorrow, so I'm fired up for it. Without further ado, I know I probably introduced it probably 4 or 5 times now, but we're going to get into some questions here. So thank you to everybody that kind of, bannered on Twitter. We're going to get to some of those questions as well. This person I wanted to give a shout out to, she's been awesome. Absolute sweetheart. Thank you so much for always supporting us. And so I wanted to get to your question first. Emily, Classic, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Which player, and we'll kind of we'll start with Joe. We'll go to Chad, and then end with myself with these questions here. But which player are you most excited to watch, either offensively, defensively? Doesn't really matter. Which player are you most excited to get to watch this postseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think like Cal's probably the obvious answer, just to see him in the playoffs. I'll kind of answer it like in a different way a little bit. What I'm most excited about is for the Mariners to be on the national stage and the nation to see some of the players they don't know. I think most people know Cal Raleigh. They know Julio, probably know Randy from the 2020 World Series, but the nation's going to get to see that Dom Canzone's a pretty good baseball player, that Jorge Polanco had a huge bounce back year, that Gabe Spire is like the most dominant lefty reliever in all of baseball. I think little things like that I'm most excited to watch are those role players that don't get the national spotlight coming through and hopefully coming through in a huge moment. I'm trying to think of someone else here, but even a Victor Robles, someone like that, a former top prospect. I know I just rattled off like the whole roster. That wasn't the question, but I think I'm just most excited to see those guys that aren't known by people outside of us and true baseball people. That's what I'm super excited for. We saw that in 22, Julio in the home run derby, kind of his coming out party, Cal this year, but there's so many other great players on this team, and the rest of the country is going to see how good this Mariners team is.
I'm with Joe. Everybody. No.
1 through 9.
I wrote down one player and one player only, and it was Dom Canzone. And if you look at the first half and going into the trade deadline, they were talking about we weren't hitting for average. We're striking out a lot. And a guy who I don't feel like people are talking about enough is just what he put together as far as the season. He was one of our 200-300 hitters, or maybe our only one. But we didn't have many of them, right? So he really buoyed up that average for us. And he got himself on base. He drove in a lot of runs. But then you look in the last 30 days, he's been over a 400 hitter. He's come up in so many clutch moments. He's allowed us to get away from the Garver versus lefty type opportunities that we've been running into and not loved the lineup or the makeup of that lineup. So I think he's really, and it's all about like just not having holes too, right? And we talked about it earlier in the season, Gavin, when we were just like going into the trade deadlines, like, can we at least focus on like improving the floor? And Dom has exponentially done that in what was like probably a black hole in our lineup, especially when Robles was out. But him able to come in, bridge that gap for a while, and then you're seeing just that extra added bonus with Robles in there. So yeah, feeling really good about it. Dom Canzone, I just can't wait to see him on the big stage, and then people talking about his second half and seeing if he has a big playoffs, you're going to see him start getting ranked along across the league. You look like it. You look at that Savant page; it is lit up with red 92 percentile or better almost on every category. So I think he's an exciting player, and I don't think people know it yet. You need a little bit of national coverage when you play up here in the Northwest.
Yes, I agree with that. I love that answer too because he really has filled a huge void for us during the kind of the dark days of guys going down. Victor Robles being one of the big guys, and so very excited to see what he can do. For me personally, I'm actually going to go pitcher because now that the lights are turned on, I'm very curious, and I'm just in general, I'm very curious on if we can get Brian Wu back and he's healthy, and we're 100% expecting him to kind of go, in, full distance, and there's no leash on the guy. I'm very excited to see what Brian Wu. I think he's going to be scary good in the postseason. So I'm very excited to see what he can do. I, however, would be remiss if I didn't at least give Mark a shout out here. It's Randy for me. And now that you say that, you got to think about, that time when he was with the Rays and he was just, absolutely electric, and he had he was just on fire. He was Mr. October during that Rays series and everything. So I had to give a shout out to Mark. Thank you, Mark, also for all the support that you've shown. Flick of the Switch has something to say here. Polanco, Naylor, and Canzone will be the difference makers. I like that. I like that too. Polanco's another really good one. I think that he's been clutch and he's been really good lately. And I think this is a really good, direction for these guys. Naylor, obviously, if Naylor's not doing good, I don't know how well the team's doing. I say that with a grain of salt because the team has been doing very well when one guy goes down for a series or one guy goes down for a little bit. But yeah, I had to at least give Randy a shout out and thanks to Mark for saying that because of previous history with him. And then we got another friend of the pod, Jake from Raise the Trident, who most of us here are familiar with. Jake has done a tremendous job. Also a shout out to him. He really helped me bust down the door in this community. And I say bust down the door very lightly. We're still a fairly small platform and everything. We just, we wouldn't really be here if it wasn't for Jake as well. If the Mariners make it and win the World Series, who do you predict to be the ALDS MVP, ALCS MVP, and the World Series MVP? So for each of those settings, what are you guys' thoughts on MVP?
Do you want me to go all of them, or do you want to go DS and then come back to CS so we can set matchups here? How do you want to do it?
We can go all three. We can go all three at once. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you need some time in between to think. I might need some time as well because I'm like, okay, the matchup, this and that. So how about this? We'll just go DS first, rotate that bad boy back, and we'll just rotisserie it.
Perfect. And I will also echo that shout out to Jake. I don't think anybody has brought the community honestly together better than he has, and just a good dude all around. So shout out to Jake as well there. DS. Okay. It's going to depend on the matchup. I think Cleveland does win. There's Jake. I think Cleveland does win tomorrow. So I'll just predict Cleveland. Cleveland's good on the pitching, not much on offense. So I'll go with the pitching side, and I'm going to say we're going to get a dominant start. I don't know if you'll get 2 in a 5-game series, and I don't know who's going to start game 1, but I'll go Logan Gilbert. Has a huge AL DS. His numbers were incredible. It's just not getting deep into the games. Strikeout rate is, insane. Walk rate is low. I think that Cleveland lineup is something he can exploit. So I'm going to go Logan Gilbert as a sleeper, excuse me, if they play Cleveland. If they play Detroit, you're going to face Scooble twice. I'll go with a sleeper there too, because he might face Scooble. I'll say Victor Robles if they face Detroit. Just has a big series as a right-handed hitter there. So one maybe more obvious, one kind of fun one potentially. So I'll be my DS picks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with this. I think it's gonna be the same guy no matter what team we play. I mean, we said it earlier, Rosarina. You look at his numbers in the playoffs; it's pretty insane. He's gonna be electric. I think he comes out of the gate. I think it's a hammer a Rosarina first game home run if you're a gambler. But yeah, I mean, I just really like that for the opening series. I wanted to go pitching, but I don't think the way things are gonna line up, it's gonna be in the DS.
Yeah. This one, I was going to go Randy as well, just because of prior history. I think for the DS specifically, I think it's going to be a hitter more so than a pitcher, just because the 5-game set. There's a chance that the guys only get one opportunity, and a guy only has to hit 2 or 3 home runs in that 5-game span for them to really pop off and look good. So I'm going to take my odds in that favor. I'm not saying it can't be a pitcher. I'm just saying I'm trying to think about this as just from all angles as possible. And I think no matter who you play, Guardians or Tigers, behind him, I'm gonna go Julio. You know what? I'm gonna go Julio. I'm gonna say, hey, when the lights turn on, the guy's been hot lately. Let's go Julio. I think he's going to steal a few bags. I think he's going to rob some. I think he's going to look like an absolute highlight reel in the outfield. And then I think he's going to hit some clutch hits. They may not be home runs, but I think he's going to have some really clutch hits. That's going to bring the team, to that next step. And then we'll kind of shift it over to the CS, making it to the CS, breaking that one down. It looks like you could have, potentially the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, or the Yankees. So Joe, what do you think about that series?
Yeah, I think you guys made a great point there about pitching in the 5-game series. So my Logan Gilbert pick's probably wrong already. So that's a good point. You're not going to get but you never know. I'll still stick with it for fun.
Nine straight innings and he gets it.
True. Throw a perfect game or something.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a guy that would do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I predicted the Yankees to make it there. I mean, they're going to be on life support tomorrow, but so I'll stick with that in my head for this. Short porch, right field, Yankee Stadium. Give me Jorge Polanco to have a big ALCS. I love the Julio pick. That was going to be my pick here. It's kind of the same way Stars, showing up in the big game. Polanco's I think Polanco sums up how good this Mariners lineup is. Him and Dom, because you get through Naylor. Naylor would be a great pick too. You get through Naylor, you get through Gino, Randy, these guys, and you're like, oh, you take a deep breath. No, there's Jorge Polanco and Dom Canzone right there. They can both kill you. And I think Polanco had a pretty good series in Yankee Stadium, if I remember correctly this year. Don't quote me on that, anybody. But I'll go Jorge Polanco, ALCS MVP.
I like that one.
I like it, Joe. Yeah, I'm going to go pitching here. I'm going to go Woo, just because the way I think it might line up. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've already reported it. I don't know. I haven't been too in tune today, but I feel like Woo's probably not going to be pitching at home to start this playoff. So I think you can be a guy you see go right away. Who it might be, I think it's going to be the Yankees. Personally, I think they're the best team on that side of the bracket, but you never know. They have to go play in Boston now, right? So Boston's played well at home, like all playoff teams do. So we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, we'll go with Woo.
Damn it, Chad. That was mine. I was actually going to go pitching. So with that being said, I'm not going to double down. I do want to do just a slightly difference in opinion. So for that second round, I'm going to go Randy. I'm going to go back to Randy on this one. I think he continues staying hot, and I think we've seen just the postseason warrior that he is. I think Randy, pops off no matter who it is, whether it's the Yankees, whether it's the Blue Jays. I think you're going to see Randy play some Randy ball in Randy land. That's what I truly think, and I think you got potentially 11 straight games of him. You're really rocking it home. So I'm gonna go with Randy for the CS, and then going for the World Series, which everybody in the NL is on the card for that right now. Everybody's still eligible, and I don't know the current score of the Dodgers game right now, so you could potentially not see the Reds. I don't know if the Dodgers are putting a whooping on them right at the moment, but. Um, Anybody from the Reds, the Dodgers? I'm trying to think. I don't have it in front of me. Reds, Dodgers. You got
Phillies, San Diego
Phillies,
Padres,
Padres. You got the Cubs, and then you got the Brewers, I believe.
Brewers. Yeah.
So all 6 of those teams. Let's say we go with the number 1 seed, or no? Let's keep it open and just let's hear your thoughts on the CS or the World Series.
So the Reds are down 7-2 right now in the 6th.
Oh.
So I think we can safely probably eliminate the Reds from this. So my World Series pick was the Phillies. And what do the Phillies have? They have a lot of left-handed pitching. And a guy that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I think, and rightfully, he didn't have a great second half necessarily. What about Gino Suarez against the left-handed pitchers of the Phillies having a big World Series? There's a certain guy I want to mention that may be the MLB MVP. I feel like it's just too obvious of a pick. So let's go another little sleeper. Eugenio Suarez in Philadelphia, mashing the Phillies, World Series MVP.
Love it.
I also had the Phillies. I made a future bet before the season, and that was the one that went down to Muckleshoot Casino in Auburn. Took care of that. Plus 1,000 at the time. So I'm going to stick with Phillies. Who's going to win it as far as MVP award? I got to go Kyle Raleigh. I would love to see him put an exclamation mark on just the overall season, solidify that MVP, leave no doubt behind, and nothing better than on the big stage.
Because you mentioned that, I just had to at least pull it out. One of my really good friends, actually, one of the best men at my wedding. He went when we were in Vegas. He bought this bad boy, and yes, it is $50 on the Mariners to win. He bought that back in August 15th for my birthday. Yeah, let's go M's. Definitely need that one to hit. Yeah, I had either the Phillies or the Brewers as kind of that team that kind of makes it all the way through. Just because the Dodgers have to go through so many rings this year, they might face some turmoil, may not be able to get through it. We've seen really good Dodger baseball, so you never know. But I had either the Brewers or the Phillies kind of being that team that kind of emerges as the top team. And yeah, against them, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go back with the pitcher, and I'm gonna go back with one that I wanted to shout out. And I know Joe, you mentioned this in the first round, Logan Gilbert. I like a pitcher kind of shining through 2 starts, and you might even see him out of the pen at one point in Game 7 if they get to that point. So if you're staring down the barrel of 2 starts and a potential pen appearance, you're looking at potentially 15 to 18 innings, or 15 to 18 innings, somewhere in that neighborhood, if he's doing very well and being able to kind of capitalize on that. So I got Logan Gilbert for the World Series. I did the guy that gave us this question, Jake from Raise the Trident. I did want to give him his due here. His predictions are Julio for the division series, and then Kirby. Ooh, I like Kirby. That's going to be a good question down the road when we talk about how the staff's going to be kind of rostered as we kind of move through the different rings. But yeah, Kirby for the championship series, and then Naylor for the World Series, which I also really like, because I think obviously the biggest stage, that guy definitely shines. So I can totally see that happening. Very excited to kind of see that one. Also, Jake, thank you again for the question. Thank you again for all the love that you've shown us. And kind of with that being said, we're going to move on to the next one. Mark, you had a question for us. I see that you're in the chat as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get to your question here. So for you guys, who has the bigger impact on this upcoming series, Suarez or Robles? What are you guys' thoughts on Suarez and Robles? Who makes the impact through a 5-game set with the Tigers or with the Guardians?
Yeah, I think if you face Detroit, you could make a case for either one, because maybe Skubal goes game 2, game 5. Cleveland's, I think, a little more right-handed heavy. They do have 3 lefty relievers. I mean, Gino's going to play more, so I think Gino's probably like the easier answer here because he's going to start every game. but baseball playoffs are made for like the heroes. It's a sport where like football, you can't always draw it up, but you can draw a play up for a certain player and throw them the ball or hand them off. Baseball, you can't always control who's up in the late innings. So maybe Robles has a couple big at-bats late, especially against those left-handed relievers of Cleveland, if it's Cleveland, or Skubal if it's Detroit. I will go Gino, though, just because he's going to start every game, and we know he's going to start every game there.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good call.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, Joe. Gonna give a plain answer. You're right. But really, like overall, like I feel Gino has been a really good spark plug when it comes to putting up offense and putting it up quickly with the home run. Um, how many consecutive? I mean, like he's number 3 in baseball lifetime over the last 5 years in home runs. So he's just been an impactful bat that's been quiet. I just think out of the media. So I'll stick there.
Yeah, I got to go with Gino as well. Also, the guy could go 2 for 14 and have 2 Jimmy
Streaky.
Jacks. Yeah, exactly. And just have 2 Jimmy Jacks, and they're both like clutch hits. Because every game, every at bat is so intensified, so magnified, that every home run that brings you at least one run closer. Let's say you're down by 3 and he hits a home run, and that sparks something that you're able to do. Then that still looks like a really good advantage home run. So I'm going to go with Gino as well, because I think he has a chance to leave the yard. Even if they played, I'm going to go on a step further and say, let's say they both played, it's a 5-game set and they all played, or both played all 5 games. I'm going to go with Gino just on that, because home runs get magnified.
Now,
And
what if Robles has the praying mantis on his head in the outfield while he's playing? I mean, that's gotta be.
I mean,
Had
it's as deathly as an eagle on James Paxton, my man. I'm telling you the same. I'm telling you right now, it's deadly. It's deadly.
Now, if the question included the praying mantis, I would have gone Robles. I'll put it on the record.
Yeah, I want to go on record for this one. So yeah, I'm also going to go Gino, just because those home runs get magnified and he has kind of a better chance just to leave the yard at any moment. Mark also had one more. He DM'd me. I wanted to at least get to this one as well. I thought it was a very good question. More important to winning the upcoming series, Tigers and Guardians, Polanco or Matt Brash? What are your guys' thoughts on Polanco, Matt Brash, and just what that shakes down to this next series?
That's a tough one because bullpens are so magnified in the playoffs. I mean, you could see guys, they push it to 3-4 days in a row, multiple innings. There's actually a part of me that, again, it kind of similar to last one where Polanco is going to play probably every game there. So he's more likely. But I love bullpens in playoffs. I love seeing those guys come out of the pen in like the 5th, 6th inning. Hopefully starters going deeper, but getting out of big situations. So I'll go with a little offbeat there. I'll go Matt Brash. I think he gets out of some huge spots for the Mariners in this series, no matter who it's against. And we're going to be very happy. Kind of using that fireman role that Scott used to kind of use him in, coming into the high leverage spots. So I'll go with Brash here on this one, but it could go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to bullpen in the playoffs, it's so vital. And he's going to be a guy that'll stretch out a little bit. So we're going to see him. You could see him, like you mentioned, 3 days in a row, and it could be huge. But I want to go something different. I like Polanco though, and if it wasn't for DeGrom, I've said this a few times, but still the same. If it wasn't for Jacob DeGrom, he'd be the AL Comeback Player of the Year, and quite frankly, I'd love to see him push for that award here in the playoffs. I don't know if playoffs are considered for that, but I would imagine they are. It is. So I want to go Polanco. I want to see him win that award. I feel like he's right there. The performance he's put up and been able to, like early in the season, like we were throwing out a C-level lineup, and he was buoying that offense up in the first half. Him and Cal, obviously, he fought through the offseason hip injury, so he wasn't fully right. He wasn't able to go full right-handed. So I just feel like his guts and his willingness to do whatever is for the team on a inning by inning basis, he's going to add a lot more value. So I'm going to go Polanco.
Yeah, Polanco definitely saved you through those 9 straight series wins that we had. A lot of that's attributed to Polanco and how well he was doing. I did want to get to before I get to my question or my answer. I wanted to at least acknowledge this. Why nobody talking about JP Crawford? And it has nothing to do with how good or bad I think. Me personally, I don't speak for all three of us here. JP Crawford just isn't the one that I think it makes that step. I think he does very well. I think he's the gel or the glue with this
Mr.
offense. I
Clutch.
think he's gonna be clutch. He's gonna be able to kind of do some stuff and kind of hold the team together. Does he leave the yard? Maybe. Does he leave the yard in a clutch moment? Maybe. He's just not the first guy I think of when it comes to that. And again, it has nothing to do with how good or bad I think JP Crawford is. And that's just my personal opinion. That's not these other guys's. So I guess, as we're right here, what are your guys' thoughts on JP Crawford as we get into this, these series?
I get worried about the defense sometimes. It's more just saving runs. Doesn't quite have the same step that it used to before going to his left and right. But going in balls in front of him, like I can't name a guy who's like really. I mean, the list is short on the balls in front of him and ability to charge. So still love that part of his game. He's got a great arm. So I'm not saying he's a liability. I'm just saying, he's just not the same player he used to be. But I love the fact
Yeah.
that he's rebounded
Not
overall.
not anti JP Crawford. It was just pro some other guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 year left on his deal too, so I just kind of, feel a little.
Yeah.
I'm not certain if he's on the team next year. That's my little. Where are we going to divert that money? We'll see.
Joe, what
Yeah.
are your thoughts on JP?
Yeah, I think you both hit the nail on the head with it. I'm with Chad on the defense a little bit, a little nervous. There's some of those like routine plays or those ones just to the left. I'm like, man, I feel like that could have been a double play and then it sneaks through for a hit. But like, it's not that I don't. In fact, I think JP will have some clutch hits in these playoffs where Mariners will have a big rally, then they'll still have a couple on, and boom, there's JP lining one into left field to get 2 more runs in. So I don't think JP would be a bad MVP pick for a series either. He could be sneaky at the bottom of that lineup. But this lineup is just so good. I mean, I feel bad. I mean, I don't think any of us mentioned Josh Naylor outside of Jake. I mean, how could we not? It's just there's so many guys and dudes here that could come through.
There's so many guys.
And the question that came through my head, I'm like, well, if you had to name like the 2 worst hitters in the lineup, who would you say? Would JP be one of those players?
Probably, like as it stands right now.
He's like a 730.
And he's not bad.
Yes.
That's
where my head was kind of at. Yeah.
That is such a good problem to have right now. I love that. And I guess just to get back to my answer on Brash or Polanco, I think for the postseason, I look at it like this: if Polanco went 0 for whatever, can we still win some games? Yeah, I think we still can because that lineup is so stacked. If Brash comes out and and he's kind of been a little rocky this past month. He's had some not so good outings. He's been kind of been hit around a little bit. So if we're getting that same Brash and we're not getting lights out Brash that we're so used to, and he is so good at being prior to this past month, I think we might be in a little bit of trouble because our depth in pen is not as good, and it actually can get better with having a 5-game series, shifting to a 3-man set, and so there's room for improvement. But you need the guys that are good to be good, and Brash is 100% one of those guys that is good, and we need him to be good. He's an 8th inning guy. He's a perfect setup guy for us, and he has been for the past couple of years, minus some injuries. So I think without Brash being good, that makes whatever series you're playing in very difficult. So I'm gonna go with Brash on that one. Now, kind of getting into we have another question, and it is from another friend of the pod, Brendan from Pint Size Analyze. What team do you least want to face in each of the playoff rounds? So I guess we'll start off first with the Tigers Guardians. Joe, what are your thoughts? Tigers Guardians, who do you not want to face?
They are so even yet so different teams. Like Detroit is, I think, more top heavy with Skubal. You could face them twice. That could be a nightmare. Their offense, I think, is better, but I don't think they have the depth. Cleveland's offense is kind of bad, but you still have Jose Ramirez, and they just have that like kind of it factor a little bit going on there. and they're just solid across the rotation and bullpen. Oh man, I think I'd rather, and it's going to come back to bite me. I think I'd rather play Cleveland. I'm nervous about facing Scooble twice. And I know we've beaten them and everything. So, maybe that wouldn't be, I'm not saying we couldn't beat Detroit. I think the Mariners should beat whoever they play in the division series. I think I'd rather play Cleveland because I don't see them being able to blow you out in a game with their offense. So I think it's going to be close. I think you're going to be able to keep it within range, even if you're behind a little bit there. So, but man, that's such a tough one in the first round for me.
That is and yeah, you got two very different but similar teams. And good question, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to stick with Cleveland. They were ranked 29th in OPS on the year. And they're a playoff team. They just had a huge run at the end of the year. So who would I want to play on paper? Probably Cleveland, and also selfishly, like I'm going to the Coug game this next week at Ole Miss, and I might just leave a day early and go catch the last game of the series. We'll see.
Honestly, great answer. Go Cougs as well. But yeah, it's a tough question because they are same, but still different. And yeah, they both have. It's like pick your poison with these ones. They both have very different ways of just kind of attacking the game and the way that they can kind of go. On paper, without any prior history, I think the Tigers are definitely the scarier team, or just the one that you need to be more on your toes about and just kind of be cognizant of and really have to game plan to go into. Cleveland, they're also kind of a mystery because they got hot late, and I hate that. I love baseball for this reason. Teams that get hot late for some reason find a way to just have that extra oomph and just are able to put things together. And as a team trying to analyze that, if you're going into a series and you only have a sample size of them being good, well, okay, what can we actually expect? So going into that makes it that it gives it more X factors. So I will say ultimately it's the Tigers because I think you look at their lineup 1 through 9, you look at their staff, you look at their bullpen. I believe they have a former Mariner in Will Vest as well. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
They're pretty
and
good.
I did a quick little Gemini because I was curious just where my head was at. But we Mariners starting pitching is middle of the pack when it comes to giving up home runs, but we're elite when it comes to not giving up hits. So if you look at the teams we're playing, Cleveland hits a lot more singles than they do home runs. Tigers predominantly has been a home run hitting team this year. Didn't have enough time to look up where they're at in home runs, but just top of my head, I feel like Cleveland is definitely the better matchup overall.
Yeah. And like you said, nail on the head. They got Torque, they got Carpenter, they got Riley Green, they got guys that can leave the yard, and that's kind of what they're known for. And Cleveland kind of scares me in another sense, but I would ultimately say the Tigers just because of you take the longevity of the season, you take everything into consideration, and kind of where they're at, just 1 through 9 in their lineup, and also with what they're pretty balanced, kind of all areas of it and everything. So I'm gonna go with the Tigers. Although if we get the if we get the Guardians and we lose to them, hey, just know I was wrong, but I wasn't. We're not fighting a war here. Now we're going to get into our final question from earlier today, and it's going to bleed into another thing that we wanted to talk about. Chris, from I believe the Coach's Son podcast. First of all, thank you again for just supporting the show and throwing out a really good banger of a question. It's kind of a 2-parter, maybe even a 3-parter here. Is Garver going to continue to be an auto start with a lefty starter? And then followed by a couple other questions here. What should we be thinking in terms of pitching management? As in, what's the number of innings we need from starters to feel good about the pen? I'm thinking 6, but I think we have even 5 but I think even 5 strong works. So we'll attack the first question first. Is Garver going to continue to be an auto start with a lefty starter? And we'll start there, and then we'll go back to the other questions he threw out.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm going to go no, just because I don't want to see Garver in there. Keep him as our bench catcher, and that's fine. Maybe there's certain matchups that do make sense from during the season. I just look at a player like Dominic Canzone that's provided a lot of stability Just the 400 average that I talked about. They've started giving him more opportunities versus left-handed pitching. I know in those last two weeks I saw a few base hits versus left-handed pitching, so it was encouraging to see. Um, I'm gonna say no on Garver.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be automatic that he's just in there, like kind of in the same vein. I don't think they're just going to be like, oh, lefty Garver in there. I think it will, again, it'll depend, like Chad said, on the matchups. I don't know all the history of if Garver's done well against Scooble, or I think Allen's the lefty for Cleveland. I know their bullpen has a lot of lefties. I think we'll see Garver play. He could pinch hit in some instances too against a left-handed pitcher, some of those Cleveland relievers. So I think he'll play. I don't think it'll be automatic, though, that he's just in there, because Dom's held his own against lefties. Obviously, with Robles, you could DH Polanco or something. Although that's second base, and it's also going to depend on the roster when they announce the roster, what it looks like as well. But I don't think automatic, but I do think we'll see him against some lefties, especially depending on his history against them.
Yeah, and but before I say this, I don't want this to come across as I hate Garver or anti-Garver or anything, like that, because the guy's been raked over the coals from a lot of
Leave
different
Garver
fans.
alone.
Yeah, the guy's been raked over the coals for the past 2 years, so I'm not here to put pour fire on the gas or gasoline on the fire. But I do want to say, hey, he stepped up in some moments. I want to try and take some positives out of this. Garver, he hit that home run. I can't remember what series it was towards the end in September that helped elevate to a victory in that one. He stepped up at some points in time over the past 2 years, and I vividly remember the walk-off home run to the Braves last year, and that was just electric. And we thought, all right, turn of events here. Unfortunately, that just didn't happen in his 2-year tenure with the Mariners. But the guy has filled at least he has filled a role in the clubhouse. He's very well liked, or he would not still be here. We've seen it happen with some other good players, or at least other good clubhouse guys. Donovan Solano. I guarantee you that guy's well loved in the clubhouse. He is no longer here. So I got to give at least a shout out to him. With that being said, now that you're getting to the postseason, you're going to see guys play and not sit. Like, that's just going to, you play 15 innings, Cal's catching all 15. That's just how it goes. And then he's waking up and he's catching 9 the next day. That's just how it goes. When you get to these postseason, you're going to see your starter, unless you see something like today, where you saw a couple starters for a couple different teams only make it through 3 or 4 innings because they were trying to play matchups early and not trying to get behind. But if you're seeing Logan Gilbert go 6-7, actually, this is a question. I'll save that one for a question down the road. But for this specific answer, I'm going to go with you. There's a good chance you may not see Garver at all this entire postseason. And that's just because it's, again, not anti-Garver. It is just how good Cal Raleigh is, and you've seen the guy just being able to be beat down, wore down, whatever you want to call it, and just thrive through the next day for another 9. So unless the guy is just hanging, I don't see Cal Raleigh out of that lineup. It's and you got to go with your best 9 every single game, because every game means something now. So that's what I'm going to go with the Garver situation. Again, I'm going to beat it in the ground, man. He's done a phenomenal job in the clubhouse. He's very well liked. So I'm very happy that he's at least a part of this team. Hopefully we can get him some at bats, maybe even a start. But I'm saying there's a good chance that you may not see him. We'll bring the tweet back up for the rest of the questions, but getting into the pitching side of things, what should we be thinking in terms of pitching management, as in what's the number of innings we need from starters to feel good about the pen? I'm thinking 6, but I think even 5 strong works. And we'll go into the pitching. We'll start it off. We'll go with Joe, and then me, and then finish with Chad, because Chad was going to bring up another topic here.
Yeah, I think Chris nailed it on the head in the tweet. I think 7 is like chef's kiss. You'll take, that's like ideal. 6 is great. 5 is doable. You don't want to do 5 too. I mean, it's tough in the playoffs. Like you said, you see teams playing matchups in the 4th inning. Heck, the Mets had like Edwin Diaz pitching in the 4th inning in their last game to try and save their season. Didn't work out, but they did. So, you know, if you can get 5, that sets you up well for Bizardo, Spire, Munoz, Brash, in whatever order they want to do it. So that's, I think, where that 5 comes in. You'd like to not every game have to do that and go to the well. You'd like to be able to get those 6, 7 innings. But you also got to figure there's probably going to be some 3, 4 inning starts, you know, there too. So I think 5 is probably like your safety zone. I don't know how to word it. Like, you know, the kickoff landing in the safe zone, whatever. Yeah. As we saw last Thursday. 6 is kind of like perfect. 7 is awesome. Anything over that is, you know, extra gravy there. But yeah, I think Chris is pretty spot on with the tweet and his assessment there.
Yeah. And I'll go with and you're seeing it elevated right now. Like it's right in front of us as we watch this row of series happening right now, the wild card series. You know, it's extremes. If guys are doing well, they're not going to take them out. They're going to go 110 pitches. They're going to go 115 pitches and get them to the 7th, maybe even 8th inning. If the guy's doing well, and I think you might be able to see the light when the lights turn on, you could see a Luis Castillo end up going 8 innings. We could potentially see that again. He's been solid this year. Maybe now that we're getting to where the juices couldn't be flowing any faster, we see that coming out of Luis Castillo. Brian Wu, if he's I'll say this one again, if he's 100% healthy, I think he goes 8 innings at least once if he's healthy for this entire postseason, and we make it that far. I think you're going to see an 8-inning appearance from him. Logan Gilbert, same thing. And on the other side of that, if it's 3-3 in the 3rd inning, yeah, you could potentially see him come out and they go straight to whoever is not going to be in that starting rotation. It could be Bryce Miller to kind of bridge the gap to the 6th inning or 5th inning or wherever they kind of need it for that time being, depending on where they're at in the series. If they just emptied the tank because they went to the 10th inning the night before, maybe they have Bryce Miller go to the 6th or 7th, just so they can kind of help their bullpen out. And that's where they use their 5th starter. So that's my thoughts on just where their pitching management is going to be. It's going to be extremes. You're either going to see guys get pulled fairly early, or you're going to see guys just rock and roll, and you're going to see good October baseball from some pitchers, and you're going to see some just the October appearances from some of these guys, which I'm so excited for that. Hopefully that happens, knock on wood. And then Chad, what are your thoughts on where this is all at?
Yeah, I don't want to. I just load management is just not even a thing when it comes to playoffs. It's almost not necessarily. I feel like NBA is a bad example, but it's kind of good. But when you get excited about NBA playoffs because what they play defense and they try really hard, it's this. Sorry, I'm a little triggered, but still about the Sonics leaving Seattle. But I just feel like they're not really thinking about how many pitches are they at. How they're going to make coach is going to go out and say, "How are you feeling? Good. All right, perfect." Because they want to win a World Series. They know that they only have a few more days left with those guys, and they want to push it as hard as they can. So, yeah, I'm not really even thinking about number of innings, who's going to be the guy going in there. Like that's Dan's job. Those are like as fans too, you just want to see that starter go 8 innings. Like if you can do that every single game, you're going to win a World Series. So I'm hoping I don't see our starting pitcher pulled in the 5th. Wu makes sense. I could see that first start for him potentially being shortened in some kind of way, but those other guys, there should be no pitch count in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now it just gets me curious though, talking about Wu, and nothing's been reported yet, guys, on as far as like I know they talked about he has 2 more bullpen sessions at this time, so you can kind of look at that and see the timing of this weekend, giving some days in between. Like you could see them opting not to have him going those first 2 games or even the first 3 games and saving them for potentially that first start into the next series. We'll see how it goes. I would hope it go pretty quick, but what are your guys' thoughts? Obviously, Logan Gilbert, let's say Wu can't go starting out right away. Logan Gilbert, number 1, probably safe to say. What are you guys thinking for that? What would be last game at home, going on the road? How where are you guys' heads at on like matching up right there?
Yeah, Joe, if you want to take it over.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's tough. I agree 100%. I think Logan game 1 Could make a case Castillo game 1 as well. I think you want Castillo at home. Not that I don't believe in him on the road. I think Detroit and Cleveland are both pretty pitcher-friendly ballparks, if I'm correct on that. I know Detroit is, Cleveland. Okay, Cleveland is too.
Yeah.
So not as worried against the Cleveland offense, I think. And again, if any Cleveland fans are watching, I'm not trying to dog on Cleveland as well. They're a very good baseball team, but a little offensively challenged. So I think I feel okay with Castillo on the road there. It's tough because the Mariners are kind of unique that there's not a massive difference between all their starters. Like, you could kind of make the case for all of them. A lot of teams don't have that. They've got the true defiant, like, Detroit, there'd be no question. A Scooble all 5 games if we could, and then, hope and pray the rest of the way. With the Mariners, there's so many options. You can throw Kirby game 1. I don't think it would be a dumb decision. But I would say Logan 1, Castillo 2. I think you'd love to have Wu for game 3 if he could, ideally, but I agree with what Chad said. I think it's more setting up for game 4. So I'd say probably Kirby 3, Wu 4. And, Wu's, I think, been the best pitcher of the bunch on the road. So even if he was fully healthy, I don't think it's crazy to save him for a road start necessarily. But I think that's what it'll be. I think it'll be Logan, Castillo, Kirby, Wu. That'll be like my final prediction for what they do.
Yeah. I'm almost there. I'm thinking more. I think you could see Kirby pitch game 2, and then Castillo, just based off just numbers. Kirby, I believe he has like a 5.2 ERA away versus at home is far better. And then like Castillo on the road, he's like a 4 point. I think it was like a 7.2 or something like that. So about a 0.5% different, 0.5 difference overall. You're right though. It's like, it's nice to have this problems like who can we go? Like, well, you kind of go any of them, right? I think it's pretty consistent though across the board that Bryce Miller is going to be that guy coming out of the pen. So it will be interesting to see if that's actually true or not. But yeah, it's just kind of like, just to wrap up like my point, it's just like our starting pitching is so elite, and it hasn't been all year, but it's coming together at the right time. So where it's like, I know like Gavin, you and I, Nosy, were like talking about this nonstop. It's like hitting that there's highs and lows in the season, but it's hitting that high at the right time. And we weren't necessarily worried about the hitting because the hitting continued to have that trajectory of improvement, especially after that trade deadline. But it was that pitching that we just needed to come alive. And the fact that we know we can go to a 4-man rotation and strengthen our bullpen, which probably is our weakness, right? So like overall, feeling really good about this, boys. It's October. We're here.
It's October. We're here. I'll throw this out there, and then we'll go to one last final question after these thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up. Honestly, I figured this was only going to go maybe 30 minutes, but we're wrapping up closer to an hour mark, and I thank you guys for staying on, and thank you guys all for the support and questions. But just to kind of finish this one off, I really like Castillo at home. I also like Dan's kind of old school mentality a little bit, and he might go with the veteran in this one. He might actually go Luis Castillo game 1, especially if Brian Wu, if they're just, hey, there's no concerns. We just want to give him a couple extra days. We just, we can afford it. We have the staff to kind of back that up, and we would rather have Wu on the road than Castillo on the road, given any scenario. So I like that Castillo could get the ball in game 1. If you're looking just kind of through the vacuum, Logan Gilbert might get the ball, but man, the more I think about it, you know what? I'm actually going to go with Luis Castillo on this one for game 1. I think he's earned it throughout this year. The guy, and just to kind of capitalize on a couple things, no complete games this year, nobody over 200 innings. Brian Wu had 186, and I believe right behind him was Luis Castillo at 180. So we had those two guys, and then everybody else was kind of, sub that. Everybody was out for a couple weeks, which in my opinion lines up perfectly for the postseason. Cause now you can run guys a little, ragged as they say, and just kind of let guys loose. And, I remember in that 2016 World Series, Aroldis Chapman was saying he threw way too much, and the Cubs mismanaged him in the postseason. Well, now we have the guys that are ready to go. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go Castillo game 1, Gilbert game 2. And then probably I like Wu or Kirby going game 3. It's either one. Either one is fine with me, and I'm good with that. But yeah, Castillo's the big winner in this one, in my opinion. But we'll get to our final question here. Mark actually threw out another really good question. I wanted to at least pop this bad boy up. Thoughts against lefties if needed: Ben Williamson at third, Polanco second base, Suarez DH, Robles right field. Is there a potential return in any of these series? Because this is what I love about the taxi squad, is that in between any of these series, you can now call up, which huge shout out to Colt Emerson for making the taxi squad. If you're not privy to the information, heads up, Colt Emerson potentially could make an appearance. I very highly doubt that, but the guy's on the practice squad, and I think at the bare minimum, they just, because I think if you're on the practice squad, or sorry, the taxi squad, you're at least allowed to be around the dugout and so on and so forth. And why not give one of your top, or give your top prospect, that adventure. But back to Ben Williamson and current situation. What are your guys' thoughts on this one?
Haven't really thought about it. Was he announced actually on our 26-man roster? Have they even announced that yet?
To be honest, if they announced it, I missed it.
They haven't.
I was about to say,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
they've announced yet.
I just
Yeah.
think you're going in with the roster. Obviously, there was some September invites that were on the roster late that didn't get a lot of at bats. But I think you look at the core and like who's been on the roster through the second half this year, and Ben just hasn't been a part of it. Now, like, does your scenario make sense statistically? Yeah, I'd say why not? But do I think they're gonna mess with the chemistry they have going with scoring runs right now? Probably not.
Good point.
Yeah, I would second everything Chad just said. I mean, it kind of does make some sense, actually. I kind of like it, but they're going to trust Gino at third base there. They're going to trust the veteran to get it done. Like I said, they're not going to break up that chemistry. Ben's an interesting idea to maybe make the postseason roster, but I actually think a guy that's probably going to make it is going to be like a Miles Mastrobuoni, because he can play everywhere and he can pinch run. So I think he would probably be kind of your extra guy as opposed to Cole Young and Ben Williamson. So it's going to be Gino. It is an interesting idea, but I don't think they're going to, like Chad said, I don't think they're going to mess with that. I think they're just going to stick with what got it done for them in September. And I'll also go back to, Gavin, your point about Castillo game 1, just real quick. It is also, I think it's a great call going with the veteran. I think that's actually what they might do now that I'm thinking about it. I actually wouldn't be shocked at all if we find out Castillo's going game 1. Another thing to think about that too is which starter do you trust to pitch 2 games in that series potentially? Because whoever goes game 1, probably pitching game 5. Who's the guy you wanted to bump twice? Ideally, we'd probably want Brian Wu, but not going to likely happen. So Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby, who do you trust twice? But no, that's my answer for that one.
And what I do like about that specific scenario is it would be at least Castillo back at home in both of those scenarios. So I do like that setup, but you're not wrong. It's like you got to think about who's going to get 2 starts, and is it Castillo? But yeah, I kind of talked myself into that in mid sentence. I was like, no, yeah, veteran. The guy's done very well this year. It's got to be Castillo. But yeah, Chad, what about your thoughts? Or sorry, we already went with you.
Well, I do have a thought on Ben. Like, I mean, I feel like
ahead.
I feel like it's us talking about our starting pitching depth. It's like Gino goes down. Well, we have Ben Williamson, so I don't like. It's a good problem to have, and it's nice knowing like, yeah, he could fit into this lineup even if Gino, if Gino wasn't injured, right, or something like that. So, yeah, good problem to have.
I did want to also mention, with just this emergence of Polanco, we really haven't seen Cole Young in a while. And it's, with that being said, it's yeah, you don't, it makes a guy like Miles Mastrobuoni that much more attractive in a position like this, because you're not expecting a guy to come in. You want a guy that can steal bags, right? Like, he can come in, he can pinch run for a guy here and there. He can steal a bag late in the game, help you win. The guy can absolutely put the bat on the ball late in the game. I don't have his strikeout numbers in front of me, but I don't remember him striking out just a ton. The guy can actually put the bat on the ball with a runner on third and 1 out late in the game. The guy can help you out in multiple ways, and that has nothing. Again, this is not anti Cole Young, but the guy is a rookie, and you're looking at the two, side by side. You're like, okay, Miles Mastroboni adds a little flavor and pepper there. With that, it would probably exclude Ben Williamson from this specific scenario. But I love that the question was asked because of just the current situation and just kind of like, hey, like this is actually a thought that could go through their heads. Hey, could we actually, potentially use Ben Williamson at any point in time? So no, great question, Mark, and really appreciate you bringing that one to the table. Guys, it's we made it to the hour mark. Really appreciate you jumping on here, Joe. Thank you so much. As always, man, you are always welcome here, and just really thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I mean, I could go another hour talking ball. So that flew by. So I love it. Thank you guys for having me as always. And Gavin, first beer's on me next time. All right.
Let's do it. And just a reminder, here's Jay's Trident podcast. Guy does just an absolute phenomenal job of post-game breakdowns. You can expect him pretty much every single night. The guy does not miss very much. I myself, before getting into podcasting, watched Jay's. Just an absolute pleasure to have you on here and everything. Chad, as always, we're always happy to have you on as well. But hey, from up sports, my name's Gavin, and just remember, life's too short. Gas up your boys.